Do you have the co-host access there, Troy?
Yep, I do. Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah, you're
All right.
welcome.
All the
Hello, everybody.
logistics before we start.
Yes, I know. It's always the setup stuff. Hey, Dee, nice to see you on camera. Jeff, John, good to see you. Tiffany, Hilaire, Olivia, and all of those who have not put on their camera yet, welcome. Welcome to the Mastermind. June 1st, can you believe it? Wow, we are in June. Not officially summer. So my post was like sun's out, guns out. Like we're getting close, guys. Getting close. The sun is coming. All right. So we'll give a few minutes while everybody comes in. And, like always, we're going to start with shares, guys. So if you have some of those shares, we'd love to hear them. And when I say shares, we want to obviously focus on your wins. It'd be great if they were StreetText driven, but it could be just your learning experience in the profession in general, because this is all for you, for the community, for us to learn from one another so we're not making the same mistakes, and just how you're being of value in this time, right? In this time that we're in where there's a lot of questions out there, a lot of people wondering what they should do. But we want to just start with your sharing the wins, sharing your life lessons as you're learning will be really helpful for the community. And it could be on any level. I love to talk about this on the level of top of funnel, preferably if you have some great experiences with the top of funnel, which is the digital door knocking, the interruption-based marketing, Facebook, Instagram type of lead generation. This way, we can truly understand that the context becomes one that these are people who are scrolling down their feed today, not knowing they're going to be talking to you when they click on that ad. And so the moment where you have to shift and change this mindset is one of, what is this first impression they have of me? Is it connecting to them? Because if you make that your first priority, you're going to start realizing that lead generation, well, we've talked about this before, the lead generation aspect of this is always a byproduct of what we call the quadrant of lead gen. It's essentially, okay, what objective am I running? Is it a lead ad or is it a dynamic lead capture funnel? And Troy, do you notice that it's just sticking on Missy there? Is there a reason? Sometimes it does that. It's weird, hey?
I appreciate the attention, but I'm gonna eat my lunch while y'all talk for a little bit.
Hey, no problem. Missy is just staying on you in our presentation, so I'm just trying to figure out why there. But is that showing for everybody?
Nope.
Okay, so when I'm talking, is everybody seeing it on their camera? You guys, on the right-hand side, there's a view. There's a speaker view, gallery view, and I believe immersive view. I think for your presentation, stay on gallery. For us, we have to record on speaker, which is unfortunate for me because I like to see everybody's faces. But it's just something that we do for repurposing material. But for you, stick on gallery so you can see everybody. Okay, so based on that, where I was on that conversation, because the first 4 or 5 minutes anyways, guys, we're just waiting while people are entering. The idea is always get clear with the moment on digital door knocking, Facebook lead generation, Instagram, social media, top of funnel. All that really comes down to recognizing that you're interrupting their feed today with something of value that they clicked on or wanted. And so most of the time you're learning that you have to frame in an experience in that moment that's all about value, education, and building what we call know, like, and trust. And that takes time. That takes time. I was doing a coffee for closers segment just now, and I was saying, guys, when you plant that seed, as we just demolished our backyard and we're putting grass in. When you plant that seed, it doesn't just sprout out overnight. It's been taking weeks with the right fertilizer and lime and water after water after water and the sunshine coming out before I even see the sprouts coming out. We got to get over the fact that we're supposed to have these quick, immediate results on lead gen of this kind. What you're looking for is creating a follow-up process that starts a conversation. Because if you can get conversations started, I guarantee you conversions are around the corner. Especially those conversations begin with asking the right questions. And those questions should be more subjective in nature, meaning like you're looking for an emotional response, one that taps in uniquely and differently than what would be the obvious, I'll take the seller funnel, for example. If you done any updates or renovations, I'd be aware of that. Everybody just leaves that as their go-to. Well, if you leave that as your go-to, most likely you're going to continue to get the same results, right? Because insanity is the definition there, where you're doing the same things over and over and not getting results. What have you done to change it? What have you done to actually create conversations? Is it unique? I always showcase that with people that are doing that so phenomenally well. I talk about Linnea all the time because look what she's done with their automations. Look what she's done with their follow-up. Look what she's done with in-home bot. Look what she's done in a way that shows value, contribution, personality, not looking for selling anything, but serving, right? You serve, not sell. You educate, you bring value, you ask great questions, and then you let your systems kind of take over. And before you know it, you start seeing the fruit of that. Okay, enough about me talking and more about you guys. So what I wanted to start with, based on that alone, is who is doing this in this time. We had a great conversation. I don't want to beat the dead horse. Last week, if you're here, we talked all about interest rates climbing and inventory being low, and I think we talked too much about that. Let's shift directions now and focus on what are you doing now, and are you shifting your automations? Are you shifting your follow-up? Are you shifting some of that stuff that maybe you had in there for a long time? Are you now going in there and maybe refreshing it and adding in and customizing it to be relevant to the times we're in? Okay, so whoever wants to unmute themselves,
I'm glad you said it that way.
What's that, Leon?
I'm glad you said it that way, because I'm glad you said it that way, because the thing is, the automation, I pulled back. Less was better for me last year. But when you talked about the engagement, Marcus, the one thing that people have to remember is you can't just rely on the automation. You got to make sure when you get that conversation with the people, it's related to their needs. It can't just always be a generic thing. So, I always tease you about the Marcus Willard School of Stalking, but whether sometimes it takes the extra minute to get prepared for the conversation. Can't always wing it. Go pull up their house, pull up the area where there's new construction in the area, something to make the conversation relatable to their needs, to keep the engagement going further forward in a better way.
Deanna, it looks like you have a question there or a comment.
I do have a question about integrating StreetText to KV Core. Are people doing that? I heard Linnea say once she leaves them there for a while. And is that even possible for them to go from StreetText to KV Core without having to manually add them?
Yes, there's a lot of people nodding their heads. Deanne, D. Jones, do you want to take that? Looks like you had something you wanted to add there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So, Deanne, yes, you most certainly can. I do it now with Zapier, and I have my VA actually set up. I mean, you can still use the StreetText platform that has the funnels in there, but I had my VA actually take the funnels from StreetText and put it in KV Core. But as you know, KV Core also has tons of drips and campaigns.
Right. But what's built out in StreetText, you had them go ahead and create those funnels in KV Core so you see everything in one place?
Yep. And
Okay.
it just zaps right into KV Core.
Okay, Zapier, I have that integration, and then you built out the funnels. Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah, good stuff. And just remember, all that follow-up, it doesn't matter what system you're using, follow-up boss, KV Core, whatever CRM you're using, just remember it all comes down to making sure that you have trackable aspects of that. Like what I love most about BombBomb is the tracking component. I need to know that this email is being opened. I need to know that this communication is being received. I need to know it's not going in a junk folder, right? Similarly with all that stuff. This is why when you look at something like HomeBot in the States, we all love it because we're getting that feedback directly when someone's inside of there interacting with that report. It cues us in that we need to go follow up. And so that's the key. And your StreetText does that too. It shows you how many people are interacting with those automations. So you just want to have as many touch points as possible, and all of value, and all with your personality as much as possible. Wherever, I think nowadays, wherever you can go in there and customize a little bit, put some video inside of it, whether it's in HomeBot, whether it's in your automations with StreetText, whether it's your KV Core and or you name it, it's just reinforcing who you are and how you're different and unique and how you're serving in this community and educating and bringing value. That, I think, right there is going to be the ticket moving forward. That is where I feel like the future of this world is heading. And this is why retargeting is going to be a big part of that, because it's just going to reinforce that message over and over again.
That's what I'm working on right now, is going through all of the setup the funnels that you guys have, and then integrating my BombBomb videos. And yeah, it's just trying to figure out, I have everything in so many places, you know, if I should just put it into KV Core or keep it in StreetText and then add it to KV Core later. So
yeah, you'll just learn from everybody. Ask those questions in there. Maybe post in the. One of my favorite ways to do things is, if you know that there's a lot of people using KV Core, for example, go to the StreetText Insider community, post that question. Always do it with like that color background. You know, the back, like it, if you post too many words, it disappears. So you have the perfect amount of words you have to use, and then you tag as many people as you possibly can in it that you know you want feedback from, and usually that evokes a really good response and discussion. Cool, wins. Who's got some wins they'd like to share? I know you got some wins. I'm gonna start looking at people's faces and just start calling them out. And remember, we're not talking about the win has to be a lead converted. It could be any new learning that you're having. That's a win. That, see, it could be anything that you think the community can learn from right now on any aspect of their career that you've learned recently. That's something that would be awesome to give back to us. Who's got to share?
I have one. It has nothing to do with a sale, a lead, etc. I had the opportunity to listening to this guy that I have significant respect for. His name is Phil Jones. He's written a book that's called, I think, Exactly What to Say. I would recommend it to everybody. And one of the key things is to watch his video, because he adds to exactly what to say the body language and the pause. So he throws a question at a client and then he waits. Really, really worth it. Worth every cent. So that's my take for today.
I love that, Adrian. Can you put that in the comments there and also share it in the group? That sounds awesome. I love books like that. Body language and tonality are so key, right? It's like, this is why this day and age we're living. If you don't have that portion there in your follow-up, in your automations and your integrations and just the long-term part of you, how else do they get to know you, really? You know, and I think it's true. Like, you get tonality a little bit on the phone if you get the chance, right? Before they hang up the phone on you. So it's that's why that role play session that we recommend to do with Gabrielle is so awesome. Because if you guys are having trouble picking up the phone, that's a great place to start to get over your fears and start practicing this stuff. But with the email only stuff, well, what are you going to do with that? It's got to, you know, and consistently with that, because it's not that first response is not always going to be received. But maybe if they get time and time again more of you over and over again, they start recognizing, wow, this person really does have some great stuff to say. And then they just naturally their level of trust opens up, and they're ready to have a conversation with you. But maybe in the beginning they're just a little bit like, is this person real? Are they actually there to help me, or are they just trying to sell me? And that's what I find is what you got to create there. Yeah, Jackie, how you said you just signed up with Smart Alto. That's a big step for you. That's awesome. How has that been working? What you got? What made you make that decision?
What made me make that decision is not being able to do everything myself. Although sometimes I think I can do everything myself. But I feel like I want to make sure that I give my clients the best experience that I can give them, and spreading myself too thin is not giving them that experience. So I did just sign up with them. Like I haven't done, so you go through like a process of onboarding and stuff like that with them. And my onboarding is Friday. So I haven't done anything with them. I just signed up. So yay.
Well, awesome. I mean, taking that step, keep us in the loop. Would love to hear how that goes for you. But I love that. I mean, again, leverage is everything, right? It's like you have to leverage yourself if you're going to grow at some point. Right now, many of us have to wear all those hats, but when they get in that position where we can, I think that's the way to grow, is leverage and delegate when you can. You know, try to leverage out all those things that you don't want to do or not necessarily good at doing, because that is going to be the key. You have to find those things that you do that brings you joy. You know, where you want to focus on those things that you are in the if you guys have ever heard of the flow sequence, or that flow zone, that flow state, that's so massive. You guys can find that flow, that thing that you do when you lose concept of time because you love it so much inside of your career. That's where you really need to stay, and then see what you can do to leverage out the things that aren't your strengths. That's going to be a big part of your growth. But in the beginning, maybe we're having to wear a bunch of hats, right? And that's the hard part, I think, with the top of funnel, is that a lot of people don't, you know, it begins with mindset, and you know, that right there, a lot of people fail out right away because they're not prepared to change and shift their mindset in that first 90-day period. And then really where they start seeing the results kind of comes into that 180 period where I think you start saying, ooh, this is exciting. And then the byproduct that you stick with StreetText, like if you guys go around and find out who's been here for more than a year in StreetText. By the way, if you've been here for more than a year with StreetText, let us know. Right now, I want to know who's been here for more than a year with StreetText. But go in the chat feature and let us know. Say me. Me. Okay, I'm going to call on you guys right now because I think this is a big opportunity for some of the newbies. Why have you been here for more than a year? And what would you tell? What's the thing that's kept you going over this time? And why are you still with StreetText to this day? And what would you tell to the people that maybe are giving it a 90-day shot? What is it that's kept you here and coming back time and time again? And where did you start seeing results is another question. Where did you start seeing the results? How long did it take you? Okay, so I have plenty of people who can answer that question.
Marcus, I can start it off for you.
Thanks, Jeff.
I've been with StreetText for about a year and a half now. Why am I still with StreetText? Because it works. It's that simple. I mean, I haven't tried that many other lead generation systems, but I don't see any reason to move off of StreetText as long as it continues to be successful for me. Now, yeah, I mean, with some of the newer people, it did take, I think that my first lead was converted after about 90 to 100 days. But after that, there was a reasonably consistent flow with those leads that had been worked in my system for 3 to 4 months. So my expectations were not that I was going to get leads immediately. And I think that sometimes some people set themselves up for failure by expecting to convert these leads immediately. You have to understand the source of these leads. These are top of funnel leads, and it's important to understand that, and it's important to treat them as such. So that's my story.
I love that. And so let's go a little bit deeper there, Jeff. With that being said, what have you learned over this time as far as wisdom is concerned to those people that are just starting off? What would you tell them based on your experience?
Well, obviously systems are critical. If you don't have your systems in place, you're just starting so far behind that you're scrambling to catch up. And you simply won't catch up because the lead flow continues unless you shut it down. And why start it if you're going to shut it down? So massively important is getting your systems in place, getting your automations in place. And I go back every quarter and tweak all of my automations, all of my touches. And now it's even more so important because what I had in place 6 months ago is not relevant to today's market with my touches, with my email blasts, with my texts. So just real important. I mean, clients will see through that if they're just getting a boilerplate text or a boilerplate email that references a market of 6 months ago or 9 months ago, telling everybody how great the market is. It's a seller's market. And so again, setting up your systems, setting up your automations, and keeping them current is probably the most important thing, because it's not plug and play. I mean, quite honestly, you can start it off that way, but if you just sit back and wait, I think you're going to be disappointed. So very important to update all your automations, all your touches, all your action plans, whatever you have that's getting pushed out needs to be time sensitive. Videos, I didn't start out with a lot of videos, but as time goes on, have added more and more to my action plans and find that I get better responses to those touches with videos than those without.
I love it, Jeff. And so let's just say I'm new and I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I'm trying to figure out what are the systems that I should use. You know, where can I find this information out? How do I fast track myself? What would be your answer?
Well, and I'm different than everybody, quite honestly. I use Follow Up Boss as my CRM. And one of the reasons I chose Follow Up Boss was because there is a library of action plans. There are probably 3,500 action plans created by other agents, other Follow Up Boss users that are available to all Follow Up Boss users. So I went through the ones that looked pertinent, tweaked them, customized them, personalized them, and used them. Because quite honestly, if I had to start from scratch, setting up action plans, creating content, I'd still be doing it. So that was one of the reasons that I use Follow Up Boss and continue to, is the action plan library is gold, because I don't have a creative bone in my body, but I have access to 3,500 action plans that I can go in and use, tweak, personalize. It's great. So that's my shortcut to success.
Awesome. And then with that, because CRMs are going to be a level of personal experience and trying to figure out what works best for them, and there's a lot of great ones out there. What would be the key integrations that you found has been useful in your follow-up with StreetText?
Well, obviously BombBomb for all the videos, and HomeBot. HomeBot's obviously a standalone program, so that is plug and play. And StreetText has made it that much easier by creating the integration between StreetText and HomeBot, where you just have to push a button and those leads are automatically imported into HomeBot. Now, I will say that before we push the button to push out that market analysis through HomeBot, we do take a look at it and check it to make sure the value is reasonable. Because, and again, this goes back to the changing marketplace. It's AI and it's not up to date. So more important now so than ever to make sure that the values are reasonably close, because values today are not the values of 6 months ago. So I would say the most important integrations that I use as standalone are HomeBot and BombBomb.
Thank you, Jeff. Anybody have questions for Jeff, particularly on his advice there for you guys? And, I saw that we have a few of you, Marla, Jackie, love to hear from you, Cynthia, Debbie, Leon, any of you guys that have been kind of in that longer time zone. Similarly, I'd love to pose the same question to you. What kind of feedback, what kind of advice and sage wisdom would you give to people right now, especially in these times, to kind of set them up for success?
I'll go last.
I'll go last.
Yes, I have a question for Jeff.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Jeff. Yes, I wanted to ask you, when you first started with the StreetText ads, what type of ads did you put up first? Buyer ads, seller ads?
No, the reason, Venus, the whole reason I started using StreetText was, it was obviously during COVID when I started out. And I'm primarily a listing agent. I hate working with buyers, full disclosure. So the whole purpose of utilizing StreetText was to generate sellers through seller leads. So the only ad that I used when I first started out was the what is your home worth ad. Again, your mileage may vary. If you want to work buyers, then obviously there's a litany of buyer ads to use as well. But my focus was sellers. So I just drilled down on that one particular ad, and as opposed to running 2 or 3 different ads, ramped up my ad budget for the one ad. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. And again, question that we have going on the table right now is for those of you that have been with StreetText for longer than a year. You know, Jeff is actually in a market which I would consider probably the most competitive market in all of the U.S. So in that Orange County area, you know, these are, if Jeff is seeing amazing ROI potential, and he's obviously been with us for a long time, if he can do it, then if he's a guy that naturally doesn't have, and you know, self-admittedly doesn't have the creative abilities to do all those follow-up campaigns and has been able to make this work with his experience, there's no excuse here, right? Everybody can do it. But will you put in the time? And that's the only currency that we have the same of today is time. But do you see that time currency is so important, especially in the beginning, as you put in a little bit more time up front so that you can have a system that works, as a process that works, a follow-up that works. So yeah.
And Marcus, let me just throw something else out there too. For some of the newbies, my recommendation would be reach out to some of the experienced people, Leon, Wendy. There's a bunch of us out there, and ask us to plug you into our action plan, so you can see what's going out to our clients, and just copy it. Leon and I joke a lot about R&D, which is basically rip off and duplicate. But there's no shame in doing that. It's no skin off my nose if you guys steal my action plans. We're dealing in different marketplaces and we're not dealing with the same client. So, you know, if I can help anybody out, if they find my material useful, you're welcome to. And I know Leon and Wendy and, you know, Jennifer all feel the same way.
Yes, Jeff, that's so true. I mean, one of the things that we find in this community at StreetText, especially with these masterminds, I mean, I think you would agree here. Jeff, I think I see you every week on the mastermind. If you're missing it, you're letting us know. But same with Leon, and same with some of those key figures here that have been together for so long. It's what we talk about, what we collaborate, what we extract out in this mastermind alone that I think gives people the ability to basically rip off and duplicate, learn from everybody's mistakes, so they can come together and put that success plan in place, ask the questions, so they don't have to try to figure it out all themselves. Right? There's the collaboration part of this is key. The mastermind key is key, and you don't get that same element from watching the recordings. Unfortunately, it's hard to get, and then you miss all the chat feature and the ability to ask the questions that you wish you would have been able to ask. So if you can find a way to make the one meeting, we have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on Wednesday, a non-negotiable. I think if you're going to invest into StreetText, this might be the one non-negotiable that you have to make. Unless you have something that you really can't miss. But in general, you try to put that on the calendar, because whatever we put in the calendar, we make time for. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. Time blocking is so important to any activity you're trying to accomplish. I don't care what it is, whether you're working out, whether you're spending, you know, that date night. It's all about, do you put it in your calendar? I know as men, especially, you know, if I don't put it in, it's not going to happen. I'm going to figure out something else that happens. So I think it's got to write it down, put it in your calendar, hold yourself accountable. And accountability naturally happens within these masterminds. Awesome. Jackie, what would you give as feedback on this? I'm just looking at you, so that's why I'm picking you.
Stop picking on me. No, I'm just kidding. So first off, I want to say thank you to Leon and Jeff and Wendy and Lena and everybody that is just so free with their information. What you guys are invaluable to people like me that I'm not creative at doing the follow-up and the you know, putting out all the different follow-up streams and stuff, you know. So people like them are wonderful. So I want to say that, and also I agree with Jeff. If when I first started, I was like, wow, overwhelmed with leads coming in right away because I didn't know what to expect. I had done other lead generation platforms and just found that they didn't work so well, and you dumped a lot of money into them, and so I didn't have my systems in place, and you don't know what you don't know. So I didn't know what systems to put into place to even get going. And so being on the masterminds were invaluable because everybody was so free to share, hey, this is what I do to get my systems into place, so that you as a new person can grow and know what to do without falling on your face and having hundreds of leads and not being able to keep in control of it. Because it can be incredibly overwhelming. So I agree with the systems.
Awesome.
And I won't be leaving StreetText anytime soon because I moved to a city where I knew nobody, and it was a great way for me to start getting my foot in this area and going. And I agree with Jeff. It took a while for me to get going, but it was fantastic once people started popping off. So there's my 2 cents.
You know, and the longer you stay with us, obviously, the more your database grows. And the more your database grows, the more opportunities you have for remarketing, retargeting, right? And just staying in front of those people with value, because that's going to be the key. You're only as good as your ability to really be different with that database, to be unique in that database. Because how else, it doesn't matter if you have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 leads. You know, I've seen some people in our StreetText community now that have that many leads. But if you're not making a difference and an impact and they don't remember you, really it doesn't matter. You just have leads. So just remember that as you're building all this stuff, the key is to make the difference, make the impression in the beginning, and then continue to make that impactful impression time and time again, over and over and over. And that's going to make you different and unique. And if you make that, if that's the foundation you build it on, trust me, you're going to start seeing amazing results. Thanks for that share. Leon, I know you wanted to say something, and unless anybody else had questions for Jackie, or Leon wanted to go quote unquote last. I don't know if there's anybody else that has some sage wisdom to offer. I saw Josh Only here. Marla, you're here as well, so go ahead.
I would just say, like, don't take for granted the comments that you get sometimes just on the ad itself. Like I've converted several people that never even got into the funnel. They never submitted their information, but they ended up being serious sellers. And so just don't ignore those conversations that are kind of happening on the side. I think there can be, a lot of potential there. So I know it's easy to kind of ignore those or not even check on those comments sometimes, or we just get bogged down with the negative or crazy ones. But just go in there and make sure you're having conversations with those people too, because those have converted a few sellers for me.
That's great advice, and I'll add to that, because what happens on that social proof that's happening there is that you get the likes too, and when you scroll your mouse over the likes, you'll see the actual names, which gives you an opportunity to DM them personally if you wanted to. So that's number one. You can DM, you could, Leon likes to talk about me Facebook stalking, but really all I was doing back in the day when I was on the sales side of StreetText was I would friend request and send messages to each particular trial that started, because I wanted them to get to know me first. And that in itself was so unique and different, because they didn't have that experience. They saw, oh, he's not trying to sell me, he's actually showing me to give me this amazing picture of what's possible. But I think if you take a leap of faith inside of Facebook, because there are people that are scrolling down their feed, they're looking for a connection even though they don't know it. So if you connect with them that way, that's going to be unique and different. Messenger, there's also this, I used to talk about Facebook friends lists. So you can start putting people in pipelines. Facebook has kind of made their announcement recently too, that they're going to be going into more of a CRM model. So remember how I used to be talking about this? I don't know if they've been listening to me, and that's why they're creating it. It's just joking, I'm not going to admit. But the messenger side of this is going to be huge. Video within Messenger is free, audio, and then you can also, from your phone, you can't do it on your computer, I think, is you can send video comments back. You know, those people are like, is this even real? Is this a bot? You just surprise them with a quick video and they'll be like shocked. So on those comments, I agree with you. Give some room for personality. Some of those negative trolls and people, I like to make fun and throw gifts right back at them as well. Like, have fun with it, unless it gets nasty and you just hide that person or block them. But yes, likes, comments, and then don't forget to share too, because it's free 99, as we call it, to share into groups that you're a part of, to share into your own personal feed. Say, hey guys, just want to let you know I'm running, free complimentary home values. I'll even bring over your favorite cup of coffee. Share your ad with your personal sphere as well, or any groups there, because you'll get a lot of free clicks. And you can ask people to share for you on your behalf. So those things can help get more traction on that ad too. Great feedback, Marla. Josh, you had something?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to piggyback off something that was being shared earlier, Jeff, on like keeping your follow-up current. So one of the things that I do and recommend for people in my sales organization, and I'll be honest, I don't think enough do it, is I send a weekly email to my entire database every week. And that's a way that it stays current. Like, it's got current market stats, and it's not automated. Like, I manually send them an email every Friday, and I'm not suggesting Friday is the best day. It's just what works for me, and doing it is better than not doing it. I almost always have a personal video. Well, I guess it's not a personal video. I almost always have a video at the top of it, a BombBomb video at the top of it, that is short, like usually 60 to 90 seconds. It's usually will reference like, hey, it's going to be a hot one this weekend, or, I can't believe it's June already. I will talk about personal things like, hey, I'm going to be running around at a softball tournament all weekend, like personalizing it, and also talking about like what's in the this week's update. And like that to me, that more than any automated follow-up sequence, whatever, is how you can build and grow your top of mind awareness, so that the people that we're catching upstream, because that's what we're doing with Facebook, we're catching people farther upstream from when they're really at a tipping point of buying or selling, so that when that happens, they've already decided they're working with you. You've already made that case. It's just a matter of when they hit the tipping point. And one other thing related to that with HomeBot is twice a month, I send a video, like you can send a video update through HomeBot. So I do that as well twice a month, that has a video with current, like the last one I sent was a video. It was like a 60-second video on, one thing all homeowners need to know right now, or something like that, right? Like, and it was very current with what's going on in the market. And so I totally agree with Jeff. Like, you don't want automations to be outdated and obviously like making you look foolish. But one great catch-all is to do stuff like that, where you're not relying 100% on automations. And then one other thing I also do, some of you have seen me, I've been doing Texting Tuesday for the last probably 2 years. So every Tuesday I text broadcast a message to try and re-engage with particular segments of people that are, I don't have, I'm not actively involved in a client relationship with. So those things I think are great catch-alls to make sure that you continue to stay top of mind, and that when their motivation hits a tipping point, you're there. Anyway.
That's awesome. Diaz, are you composing the weekly email in KV Core? Yes.
I'm sorry. Yes. I am. Now, I wasn't for a while, but I moved to using that. And I'm happy to share. I'll try and I think I have a doc with like examples of that, and I'll drop that in there, or I'll drop that in the chat. But yeah, and so each week there's like a couple of, I will say, blocks of content. Like there's a video at the top. I usually have like a list of, if I have a listing coming soon or that was just listed, I'll highlight that. I also will highlight properties that I call like off market, right? So properties, maybe I've been talking with a seller and we're going to list it soon or whatever. I'll give like little details about that. Like, hey, I've got a 3-bedroom in blank area, whatever. I will usually do just a screenshot of the last 7 days of market activity and just plop that in. That's just an easy way to like, here's what's going on for like the analytical. And then I'll usually have other stuff, maybe another video that I created that week, or maybe highlighting some special program we're doing, whether it's a special financing or like I have a local person now in my organization that has kind of become a rent to own specialist. So recently I've been highlighting that to get him some opportunities. So just kind of blocks of content. And I'll go find that as the discussion continues. I'll find some examples that I can drop in here.
Awesome. So helpful. Yeah, there's a lot of people saying that they keep an eye on you all the time. They're such a big reason for their success, Josh. So that's so cool. And I think, we do have a cool course coming out soon. We're not going to tell you when because it can be any day now, but it's going to be awesome. Awesome. So stay tuned for that with Thinkific as well. Leon, I know you're biting at the chops there, buddy, to give some sage wisdom on top of all this great wisdom that's already been shared.
Not really. I'm drinking coffee and laughing at Costco. I'm gonna say it like this, and I want to go last for a reason. Balling on a budget. We've sitting there listened to several different people that have arrived at the same place following several different paths. And I laugh because Josh has been doing this for years. I sat there and used to sign up for his little free teas, drag me in things, and I always learned coming out of it. When I joined StreetText, I got to play on house money because I was one of the lucky ones that first week I signed up, guy goes, hey, sell my house. I go, when? 2 weeks ago, boom, got that listing, sold it, been playing on house money ever since. So I got lucky and got ahead. But one of the biggest things when I say balling on a budget, not everybody has that kind of wallet to open up. And I know, coming to StreetText, everybody's kind of hesitant, like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? You make a decision when you get in this business. And the last word is key, business. Many people, some sadly never understand that or arrive at that point. Some get out of it before they understand this is a business. Others slowly grow into it. Some that are coming from other businesses that get into real estate understand this is a business and they treat it that way. And that's why their level of success hits so much sooner. And I sit there, it doesn't matter where you're at. The only wrong thing is to do nothing. When I joined StreetText, Marcus had hit me a couple of times. I left, I came back because it wasn't where I wanted, but he stayed with me. And I thank him for that. But, people say coaching this, that, training. And I tell people like this, when you have dollars on the table, and we talk about ROI all the time, this and that, people calculate theirs different. You're trying to figure out, how am I going to get where I want to be today, tomorrow, next year? StreetText, anything you do is a long-term game. Whatever I do, I wait 90 days to get a result. I'm going to commit to 90 days because there is no instant win, so to speak. And the thing with StreetText, unlike some of these other places, the thought that, wait a minute, I can come in here and I can control my ad spend. I don't have to commit to $600 a month for a year. Oh my God, $7,200, I'm broke. What the hell? Credit card max. Don't have to do that. You have options. And the coolest thing is, people that go, I want training. I tell you, if you're brand new, no, or they want coaching, I go, no, at the moment you kind of don't. You want either mentor or because you need to be trained on what you're doing. How can you be coached if you don't know what you're doing? So it's nice to come into somewhere where there's a weekly training. The discipline you're getting right off the bat that you're not aware of is if you commit to show up every week, right off the bat, you're showing commitment. So now all of a sudden, whatever else you do, if you apply the same standards to it, the repetition of doing it over and over becomes the habit. So coming in here, knowing that you've got somewhat of a CRM, you've got people willing to share. There's always someone somewhere dropping some kind of golden nugget. I learn more out of here than anywhere else. I mean, and I kid you not. It's just, I can be online in an insider group. Someone will ask a question at 1 o'clock in the morning. Someone will answer something. I'll be like, oh, damn, there's a thought. And I laugh. I got my notes on my phone. I take notes. I put it in there. Sometimes I don't get to it right away, but I get to it. So I'll go back through there and I review what I have for my StreetText notes. Go, oh, yeah, wanting to do that, mean to do that. We don't always have time to get to it because we're caught up in other things. But, you know, I've been here for a minute in the group. And like I said, there's not a time I haven't learned something. This is, you know, this has made my commitment to other things better because I call myself, I'll street text it. Go, yeah, let me street text that one. And I save it. So in this group, if you're brand new, people don't speak up. And I feel bad about that. I want to tell you guys, speak up. If you don't want to say it out loud to the group, instant message somebody, private message somebody, hell, call. I pick up the phone all the time. I have more fun sitting down talking with people out of StreetText. We'll Facebook Messenger, we FaceTime, we will Zoom, because it's a shared two-way thing. I was a certified Department of Defense instructor. I always had to stay on my game because I'm teaching the stuff and evaluating it. While applying it to real estate, when I sit here, the feedback I get from talking with other people, even if I help you do something, when you guys tell me what you do, sometimes you say, oh, I went and I did this, and you share that with me. You've improved me as well. And it's very seldom, actually, I'll say very, very hard. I kind of challenge you, show me another group that has so many people sharing stuff freely and willingly, not jealously, or I can't tell that because it's my competition. I always say don't create your own competition. But the funny part about some of these other folks will never be your competition because they're not going to take the time or effort to do the things you do to get the results. And that's why at the end of the day, you succeed where they fail. And that's just, you know, a really important thing. It's, you know, you succeed where they fail. All you have to do is show up, be here, make that commitment. You can apply this to other things, and I guarantee you'll succeed. I have more time off nowadays, and I hate to say I'm doing better, but I mean, I'm doing well. I'm doing fine, but I have more time to do other things, and that's the reward for this as well. Nobody gets on a job to work 365, 24/7. You got to have an in plan. Somewhere you got to step away. I'm honestly on the back end of my real estate career. I'm building up to give referrals to other people so that I can go sit on my ass in Thailand or Hawaii or somewhere, drink a Steve Weiser, have a mocha, laugh and joke, but I guarantee I'll still be sitting in the group because you know, the mind that doesn't learn isn't, you know, is never going to go nowhere. So that's my, I'm going to say 2 cents worth because everything's up. That's my 25-cent worth today.
Bam. That's powerful.
Amen to that.
Amen to that. That's huge. I mean, and that in itself, this is why you guys come to these meetings. What Leon just showed you right there is Leon has missed maybe 1 or 2 masterminds in this last 2 years. And he's the same one to watch that over, even if he's on the mastermind. And he's the same one to give back and leave that line of communication open and take the call, take the video. I've seen him on every single StreetText training, not because he has to, just because he wants to be, and he wants to share and give some awesome advice or feedback to somebody. But then again, as he said, he's always coming in as a learner because he never knows. He comes in with all humility to show that he may know a lot, more than everybody else, but he's willing to learn something new and give that back. And that's powerful, guys. Leverage your community.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing really quickly here, I've said it before, and I really do mean it. StreetText is like a garden. This community is like a garden. All you're doing is you're coming and planting your seeds and letting somebody else water them for you. That's 100% what we're doing here. Is every single time you come up with something unique and interesting, and you put it into the group, you give somebody else the opportunity to get that kind of spark. That, oh, that's a good idea, and they're going to take it, make it their own, and run with it. They do whatever they do for a day, a week, a month, a year. They bring whatever they've come back, done back to the original owner of said idea, and it makes them that much better. So it's just keep up the good work. And again, I kind of wrote in the comment as well. We had a dream here a long time ago as a company saying, how could we just get all of these like-minded individuals together and actually sharing? Because in the real estate industry, it's very difficult to get people to really share that their A material, their go-to stuff. I'm sure we've all dealt with it before in our own brokerages. I've developed many good relationships over the years with people in person, and never once, have I felt I was getting their A material back, even though we were good friends, because I mean, local competition being what it is. But this community here, it's just been incredible. Every time you go into the insider group, every time we come onto these masterminds, every time we see the interaction behind the scenes, we hear, oh, so and so and so and so are pairing up outside now and doing things together and then learning things and then bringing that back to the community as well. It's just been something, again, we far beyond our expectations, and there's no limit to where this can still go. So this community is a huge part of StreetText, and it's my favorite part. So thank you guys all for what you bring and the contributions and everything. It's just been fantastic. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Leon. That's awesome. Yeah, and we just challenge you guys that are sitting back and observing to come in here. And I know it feels sometimes a little scary and you're apprehensive that you might be asking the wrong question, but ask the questions, right? Because we see every week Jackie, Josh, Leon, Jeff, Wendy, all the regulars giving gold nuggets, but I'm guaranteeing you have a gold nugget to share. I'm guaranteeing you we can learn from you. And sometimes, like we talk about, Leon, those people that come in fresh, having no experience, no background, they have some of the best gold nuggets because they haven't been jaded, and they're coming in with this awesome idea and share. So yeah, that's right. The only wrong question is the one not being asked. So ask the questions, because you won't get the answers you don't ask the questions to. And if you need help, let us know. We're here for you. Post it in the group, tag some people, send a PM or a DM message, practice with them. Start sending a little bit of video back and forth. Start sending a little bit of audio back and forth. So much gets lost in translation through communication just by using text only. If you want an answer, share a little bit more of yourself. There's so many people ready to help. So yeah, love it, guys. It's been such a great mastermind. Anybody else have any other shares?
I think I can ask a question on behalf of a lot of people we're hearing from. So here at StreetText, what we're seeing is a lot of people shifting over to using the buyer lead ads, to using the downsizing ads. They're seeing that, you can double your lead flow using that. You can connect with sellers using that. And what we're getting is a lot of people messaging us saying, like, do you have any follow-up for buyers? Like, what are you doing to follow up with your buyers? Like, where can I go for some buyer drip? So, I thought, I told them, throw it out on the masterminds, but since they're not asking here in the mastermind, I'll ask on behalf of them. Like, if you're running buyer campaigns, if you're doing things like, what are your resources? What are you guys using? What type of follow-up are you doing beyond that initial follow-up? How are you nurturing those people long-term? Because I think if we can build some resources around that, we've done a lot of building resources around the home value stuff. But as like all of us here at StreetText, we're getting a lot of questions around like, what's a long-term nurture strategy for buyers? So feel free, if you feel like you have some stuff or just some questions around that, unmute yourself and share, because I know there's people asking that question a lot right now.
And don't forget to talk to buyers. Don't forget to talk to your buyers and make sure that they're also sellers, because a lot of them just aren't dropping it out there not to be upset. When I get the buyers that do that to me, I just set up a home bot seller drip for it, and they're not even aware. It just kind of snuck in there on them.
So you're running like a property search and then putting them on it once you see the name and info come through, right, Leon?
I home bot them. I just, I want to keep it simple. They get the once a month drip because I know I'm already running something else. I don't want to overwhelm them or send too much. So when I go in there and I look them up, TruePeopleSearch.com, whatever, or I'll go into my tax database and look to see if they own a home. Once I verify it, you already got their email usually or whatever and stuff like that. Now I set them up with the home bot drip, and they're getting the seller information on the down low without me throwing it out there being that obvious about it.
Yeah, I literally had on the ads class, like yesterday, somebody's running the downsizing ad and they looked through all the different submissions and she's like, oh my gosh, like every single one of these is a homeowner. And I said, yeah, it's a great way of finding sellers, because if you're looking to downsize, most likely you have a home that you need to sell to downsize from. So it's a great way of especially right now. I mean, there's a big trend where people are trying to get the equity out of their home and move to something smaller.
Pollyann, you have your hand up.
Hi, I'm just going to share one thing that I do. I partner with a lender partner and do relevant collateral on rates because people are concerned about that. And then I also use my local housing economists. I pay to subscribe to their data and information. And people, I mean, the open rate is incredible on that because people are very interested in hard data. And I get thank yous from my clients, you know, stating, and they look forward to the report 2 times a month.
That's awesome. I love that. Anybody have questions around that?
I don't have a question, but I have a thought to that. I laugh because just like when Josh was talking where he gets stuff from, where she just said she gets her stuff from, in the insider group, based on, you know, we all say HomeBot, HomeBeat, you know, why doesn't everybody post one program or one place they go different this week that we never mentioned in the group and see what shows up? Because I'm sure we'll get questions that show up, but it's just, you know, as far as a resource and stuff like that, I know a lot of times there's frustration for everybody in Canada that they don't have HomeBot, but there's a lot of these other programs that still will give value or get engagement. And a lot of times people don't even think about what they have. So in Insider Group, everybody post one program you use that no one's mentioning in here, and let's see what we can build.
There you go. Challenge. Leon dropped a challenge. Get in the Insider Group. I mean, was it 2 weeks ago? Somebody shared about leveraging the sale of your home, people being worried about like affecting their care plans and all those things. And how do you leverage the tax? And a lot of people were like, what? I didn't know that. I need that document. Like those types of things, like it's value. Josh, you got your hands up. Hands up. You got 2. You got 1 hand up.
Well, I was just going to share just some simple things on the buyer side. Like it's kind of obvious, I guess, but like if somebody opts in for, you know, a list of downsizing properties, like you should probably send them that updated list like once or twice a week. So that's automatically something that we do with every buyer lead in KB Core. We also what I call disposition every lead, and this is a big piece of the what the course that Marcus mentioned is about, of how we identify, as Leon mentioned, which ones already own a home, because a majority of them, depending on the offer that you're using, do own a home. And then what do we do with that information, put them into HomeBot, et cetera. We've also started even sending our buyers into HomeBot as buyers, not just sellers. Now you have to have a lender for that as well. But like the best catch-all for buyers, without question, is twice a week, send them the updated list of what they asked for in the first place, because it's what they want to look at. And if you're using something like KV Core or another platform that has behavioral automation, you'll be able to see which ones liked certain listings or favorited listings, which ones are actively looking on a regular basis, right? And then you can strategically invest more energy and time into the ones that are indicating through their behavior that you should, instead of wasting a bunch of time on people that opted in but never ever look at properties or never ever engage with anything you're sending.
That's awesome. I love that. I remember the Alto webinar we did a couple of weeks ago. He just talked about the simple question you can ask someone. It's just a bedroom count. They submitted something because it's a one like digit touch on their phone or their computer. Like it's just a text message like, hey, I got that list, probably a little overwhelming. Love to just update it. How many bedrooms are you looking for? you started a conversation, just something simple, and then you can do those links that are going out that are trackable. Now, great. Jeff, you got your hand up.
Sorry, just getting, can you guys hear me? Oh,
we can hear you.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so for the, I've run a couple ads for like just listed and getting the buyer leads, and now what I've sort of done, again, I'm with EXP as well, that KV Core, but I've also been building out my YouTube channel and everything like that. So all my buyer videos, I've sort of set them up in emails to go out probably, the first, I think it was like 3 or 4 touches in the beginning, and then once every week it's a different email with one of my YouTube videos. One of them is like 8 steps to buying a home, and then I have another one that's the 5 best elementary schools in my area, and then another one's the 5 best high schools, and then like just some, again, similar to it's like community videos. So I have like the best chicken wings place, and eventually I'm working on with some videographers just to do like the best parks, like the largest parks in the city that you need to go check out if you like hiking or whatever. So that every week or whatever, they're getting a new email with a YouTube video about the buying process, or like I still have to do one for this, like explaining what a CMA is and stuff like that. But like every week, just trying to drive them not through like bomb or whatever, but just to get them to watch one of the educational videos through my buyers series, right? So and now I'm just starting to integrate the text messages as well. But again, it's like, I'd say what I would recommend, what I started doing too, is just like every day, just go into your StreetText or your CRM system, and like with StreetText, and if it doesn't have the bomb, just do that, record that one video that day or whatever. Just go with, like, if you try to record them all or personalize it all at once, you're probably gonna get overwhelmed. So if you just go in there once a day, look at the next email in your sequence list and just say, okay, today I'm gonna record, the reasons why you don't want to overprice it, or like the something like that. And that way it's fine. If you try to customize your CRM all at once, or like the StreetText automation, it can be overwhelming. Like then you have to go do costume changes and whatnot. But if you just get down in front of your computer or whatever once and just hop into the next sequence in the email, do the bomb, and then it's in your system forever. It's I find that it's an easy way not to get overwhelmed trying to tackle it all at once.
So Jeff, are you downloading your YouTube videos into like bomb videos to put into emails, or how are you sharing it?
No, so through KV Core, they have the ability to share. Like you drag it into the, like it's a dynamic content, and you drag it into the email template, and then it asks you for the link for the YouTube video. So it does take you away. So there's no way for me to track who sort of watched it, but at the same time, I'm trying to just give them educational sort of content, because when you load it into bomb, you can't change. Well, you can change the thumbnails, right? I think I haven't really dived into it, but
I think you can, yeah.
Yeah, so like you could do that, but again, like you wouldn't be able to say who watched it. You'll just know that somebody else watched 100% of it. And I would prefer if it links to my YouTube page, where then they could watch anything else on that channel if they want. And I'm finding like that's how I'm sort of building my buyer side out and my seller ads out, so that it's constantly providing them with something new. Like I just did a video for what can you get for 700,000 in Brantford or whatever, and then I just toured 3 different areas with homes with 700,000, so they can start to see again what the neighborhoods are, what the schools are, you're teaching them about the area, as opposed to, are you buying? Are you doing this? Are you, like I'm saying, anybody who's coming into this area or doesn't know, you now know, okay, the best 3 chicken wing places, the best, you're going to know the best places to take your dog and your kids on a hike or whatever, like just little things. Like I moved to a new city as well, and like I just found out just because I was researching my area or whatever, that we have a conservation area like 2 minutes from me. I've been here for a year and I had no idea we had this large conservation area, right? So that's what I mean. Like, people can live in an area for so long, and or especially over COVID, we've just been in our house, so highlight your things in your area. You can find school ranking systems, or like there's certain sites or whatever that have automatic ranking systems. So anyone that's moving to your area or moving neighborhoods is going to want to know what schools are the best, or like if they have kids, or what post-secondary education. Let's just try to serve them and not sell them, right? So just give them as much information about the community, and every once in a while you can follow up with like the automated text and that call. Like, you can sort of work it out. But I would say, even if you're trying to build out your own buyers thing, just like I am, just do one email, or like set up one email template a day. Don't try to bash it out all at once, because you're just gonna be like, this is too much. I just want to pay someone else to do it. Blah blah blah. Like, if you just take it one email a day or whatever, or even if you do 2 or 3 emails a week, it's the same concept as if you're creating content. Like, if you do once a week, guess what? At the end of the year, you have 52 videos, you have 52 emails, you have 52 contact points, and that could, you could have a drip system that goes out years at that point, because if it goes from 7 or 8, like, you do the 8 touches within the first 2 months or whatever, and then you spread the drips out. So like, you can sort of just, I said, don't try to tackle everything at once, and just one email, one video at a time, and you'll get it done. It's just takes, like, it takes time, but I found that to be the best way to do it on my end, is just change or record one bundle a day.
We need to see it, Jeff. So if you want to post your YouTube channel in the comments, and anybody who has a YouTube channel, like, post your YouTube channel in the comments and go and look at what other people are doing on YouTube and do what Jeff said. Like, go in and replicate. I know for us here, like, and the other guys can attest to this, and you probably can too. I have a lot of real estate agents that are friends on Facebook. I wonder why. Guess which ones I really like the best? The ones that love where they live. Like, I could tell people, like I think of Kim Renshaw, like, I could tell she loves where she lives. I could tell she loves her horses, and she loves, like, there's something that's like attractive to somebody who's really happy with their community and where they live. So when Jeff is sharing about like where he lives, those posts in my feed that is full of real estate agents, they stand out, because they're not, hey, do you know I sell homes? Hey, do you know I sell homes? Hey, do you know I sell homes? They're like, hey, did you know this ice cream shop down the block is like the bomb, and you should go here on Tuesdays to try this out? It's just, you can tell that they have a love for their community and the places that they live. So who's got YouTube channels and who's going to post their YouTube channels below? Give each other a follow, and just look at the content and put it in your emails, like Jeff says. And the cool thing about building automations is you build them once. Yes, you got to go back and edit the content, but at the end of a year, you could be surprised at what you built. And it's doing work behind the scenes that you are replicating. So any questions or concerns that you feel like you repeat to people, make content out of it, and then put that content into everything you're doing. Love it.
I love it.
Thanks for sharing, Jeff.
I'll say that also, Ira, on that, it makes you more fun and likable, especially when you're sharing things that you love and that are interesting to you and that you love about the community, food that you like to eat, right? All that's awesome. And I would say on top of that, if you really want to pull this all together, and this is another step you can think of, Facebook groups, right? We know the power of Facebook groups. You guys all know it with StreetText Insider, but imagine if you created the best of your area group. And you didn't have to actually run it, but you might create some people with you that run it, and that could be a huge opportunity to be a presence, like, on Facebook in a big, massive community. I know Josh does that really well, and there's many who follow that model that can really help expand your influence and give them an opportunity to see every day in their feed. So just something to think about.
The other thing is this. when everybody goes in, I always say we want it right now. So like coming to StreetText, a lot of times you'll ask people, hey, so have you looked at the information about StreetText? They've never looked at it. So it's like, don't go in and just try to make all these massive changes based on what everyone else has done in here. Start out, my best performing ad has still been the what's your homework. I don't have to tweak it much. I've built the automations up a little bit for the triggers and added a few changes here and there, but basically implement a little at a time, because if you do too much, you have no way of tracking the metrics to know what's really working for you and what's not. And so in a way, I feel that sets you up for failure, because you go to launch another ad thinking something you did was great, and whatever you did makes you fall flat on your face with the ad, and then you're wondering why. So when you do something, make a change, let it run a while, see what you have, measure your results. That's why, you never hear anybody saying, oh yeah, spend $30 a day on an ad. Start out with $9 a day, let it run, split test, do whatever, see if that little tweak you made work. If it doesn't, take it out, do something else. But just, a little bit at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your business be.
Great wisdom there, buddy.
I'm copying the YouTube channels because I'm going to post them in the insider group and encourage other people to share the YouTube channels as well.
All right. Well, hey, we're about 10 minutes past the hour, so we'll wrap up the mastermind unless anybody has something they want to share. Some last minute thoughts, comments. As always, take one thing from this mastermind, just one. Even if you have a half a dozen, just make that one thing happen. If you need to implement more, go back and watch it again. This is recorded and uploaded to YouTube. But if you just take an action on one thing, imagine that every week you take one thing and apply that to your business, especially in the context of StreetText or just in real estate, you're going to come up ahead. So if there's anything that you want more feedback on, more help on, support on, send us a DM, either individually, send us it at support@streettext.com. You can post in the discussion feature at the insider group. Tag people. It's a great way to get questions answered as well. As you can tag people, you'll get a lot more. Because sometimes those discussions get lost if you just throw something out there and don't tag anybody, especially if it's all texty and it doesn't have a big loud picture behind it. So that's my advice to you when you're trying to get feedback in that group. Make that nice visual in the background, which you can pick a color from, or your own little avatar is fun. And tag people. Keep it short and sweet, and you'll get some good discussion on that group. And then there's a chat button in your account too. Yeah, John was saying there's a little chat feature on your little dashboard as you log in, which is there for you too. Awesome. All right. Hey, have a great Wednesday. We'll see you next week. Check your calendars for all the other great workshops and classes that StreetText has to offer. It's right in your dashboard, Calendly/StreetText. And we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks again, everybody.